Alright, this video I want to give my quick feedback on the chokehold. In my opinion, I feel that the chokehold should be banned in all combat sport. It's just too dangerous. And you look at the police departments, I don't believe there's even one police department out there that allows chokeholds. The police departments have banned the chokeholds themselves. And just think about it. They're the police. They have guns. They're justified in taking a person's life if need be. And even they have banned chokeholds. So basically, they're allowed to shoot somebody, but they're not allowed to choke them. So it just shows you how dangerous it is, and it's extremely dangerous. It's something that you don't want to play with. You do your research, in these articles, you'll find a lot of accidental deaths due to chokeholds. I mean, just off the top of my mind, I remember, they're talking about how these two cousins were like wrestling around. They're like mimicking what they saw in, WWE, and then one of the cousins accidentally killed his cousin. And just recently, not too long ago, you see Eric Garner. The whole thing about him saying he couldn't breathe. You saw a video of that. The officer applied a chokehold to him, and then he ended up killing him. The officer didn't want to kill him, but he ended up killing him. And this happens a lot. I mean, I've experimented with chokeholds myself, and it's extremely dangerous. Like you could go unconscious in a matter of, in a matter of seconds. And it's like the thing about it in combat sport, there's a referee there to stop the fight, but in a real fight out there in the streets, there's no referees. I mean, it's just basically, you're choking somebody and you don't know when to stop, and then you end up killing them. And then the next thing you know, you could be end up in jail for the rest of your life, due to like an accidental death of which you weren't justified in doing. Like somebody gets in an argument. People get in arguments in a bar, and then somebody ends up choking somebody else to death. Well, the person who ended up choking this person to death could see a lot of jail time, if not like his whole life. It's serious business, and it just should be banned in all combat sport, and it should only be for survival. And even if you do it for survival, you gotta make sure that you're doing it with justification. There's a lot of domestic violence as well. A man angry at a woman, and there's some men out there that will choke a woman, and if you choke a woman, you kill her. You may look at some serious jail time, possibly for the rest of your life. Even having kids, if you're angry at your kid and you end up choking and killing them, you look at jail time for the rest of your life. But if you see a man who's angry at a woman and he slaps her, he's not going to see jail time for the rest of his life. If he slaps his child, he's not going to see a jail time for the rest of his life. These chokeholds, it's almost like pulling a trigger. Like you got a gun and you pull a trigger, well, you got to make sure that you're justified in pulling that trigger. Otherwise, you could see some jail time for the rest of your life. So chokeholds are extremely dangerous. You need to know when to apply them, when not to, and it should never be for a sporting context, never for competitive reasons. You should practice it during drills to learn how to do it, to learn how to survive it, but you should never practice it for competitive reasons to see who's better than who, because accidents do happen and accidents will happen, and this is just something that we should not be playing around with. It's almost like sparring with real knives. One accident could mean the death of somebody. So in my opinion, chokeholds should be banned in all combat sport. Chokeholds have already been banned in police departments. Chokeholds, even WWE, they're playing around with chokeholds, but I mean, it's a dangerous thing, and people need to be very aware, of this dangerous technique. And the only reason why I see people should be using it is for survival purposes, on the streets. Like you really have no other option. The person might be holding a gun. He might have a gun in his waistband, and you're wrestling around him, and you see that gun, and then all of a sudden you have to choke him to death. Or the person has a knife, and you have to choke him to death because he might stab you. I mean, those are some few instances that I could say that might be justifiable. But if somebody pissed you off because they cut you off when you're driving, or somebody poured, beer on you, or somebody called you a name, it does not justify you in choking and killing somebody. So that's my opinion.